Welcome to You the Boss podcast, episode 5. For those of you that are new, I'm your host, Pam. For those of you that are coming back for another episode, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the destination and the journey. And I want to give a shout out to my husband who actually brought this topic to me and kind of opened up the lines of kind of developing this. So shout out to you, babe. And I know that if you're listening to this, you're probably thinking, the destination and the journey, what are you talking about? And that's valid, of course. I will never invalidate people's questions or thoughts like that. But diving right in, just giving the definition of it all, a destination is where you're going. So if you get in your car and you're picking up a friend at an address, that's your destination. That's where you're going. That's ultimately your goal, is to get to that place. And then on the way there, the GPS tells you to make a right, but there's a detour, so you have to go like 4 miles out to go around, etc. So the journey of getting to the destination is different. It looks different for everyone, right? We hear about it frequently where it's like, oh, college isn't for everybody. Just because you got a degree and it worked out for you, that might not work out for me. Or I got my associates and it was fine. I didn't need to go get my master's. I didn't need to get a law degree because I'm not going to be a lawyer. Everyone's destination is different. But what I kind of want to present here is not so much the destination and us kind of just achieving and just going there, but really focusing in on the journey. How many times have we found ourselves grinding it out and we're in this place where maybe we're not like sure about our destination, but we're just like, well, I'm just going to go there because that's what's expected of me, or that's what I'm supposed to do, or that's supposed to be the right thing. So I'm just going to go in that direction. And as it turns out, while you're on your way there to that destination that in some way you aren't supposed to be going towards, or you feel like you're just doing it to do it because that's where you think you need to go. Or maybe you started college and you're in your junior year and you're just about wrapped up with the junior year, but you're just kind of like, I either want to change my major or drop out. Like, I don't want to do this. And then in that journey of being on that quote unquote wrong path and that wrong direction, you're not even realizing it, but you're learning these different lessons. You're learning about yourself. Like for me in college, I didn't know the habits of studying. In high school, I just kind of just got good grades, or in some classes it was like I passed and that was that, like next thing or next situation. But I didn't realize that in college I was learning about my learning abilities, how I'm more of a visual learner, how I need to see it and then I need you to demonstrate it a few times so then I can do it and do it well. Not everyone can sit and learn. In college, I learned, that I function well in chaos, like we talked about a few episodes back, where I do best when I have 87 things to get done, which can cause a procrastination thing, which, again, I learned in my journey in the pursuit of my bachelor's degree. How many times do we miss those lessons, though, on the way to that destination? How many times do you find that you're more focused on, like, I'm so tired, I want to quit, as opposed to thinking, wow, I'm almost there. Wow, I really learned about the way to minimize stress to myself if I just do X, Y, Z. I can give the example of a lot of us grow up in a household where the cleaning is done Saturday. Saturday, you wake up early, there's music and cleaning going on. And we kind of are all trained that if we don't clean on that one day, or if we don't take one day to clean, then we're doing it wrong. And it hasn't been until very much into my adulthood that I was like, I'm not supposed to clean the house in one day. I'm supposed to clean like a room a day and love cleaning because I love to clean. I just don't want to spend an entire day doing so. And that's something that you learn on your journey, right? Like life is a journey. We treat life like we need to. I'll be happy when I get this job. I'll be happy when I get that pay raise. I'll be happy when I buy a house. I'll be happy when I replace my car. We even pay our bills that way. Like if I could just make it to Friday. And a lot of the time we lose the insight of, you know what? I don't have to wait till Friday. If I don't go to happy hour Friday and spend half of my paycheck and instead hold on to it and eat a little less, drink a little less on Friday, still attend the happy hour because we got to socialize. Come Taco Tuesday and Margarita Wednesday, I don't have to say I'm broke till Friday. I could say I still got a little bit of money from my last check, so I could wait and I can do this, I can do that. We're so concerned with when I get there, when I arrive there, that we forget to bask in the journey. Right now you might be in a place where you're kind of thinking to yourself, but I'm not saying there's something wrong with being ambitious and wanting to achieve. But you might be thinking to yourself, I'll consider myself a successful photographer when I have that amount of followers, or when I'm making this amount of money per photo shoot. What happens if you already are a successful photographer and maybe you're learning about how you're running your business in this journey of building your brand and becoming a photographer? What happens, here's one, like, to throw it completely off course and not go too off topic, but what happens if you went to medical school, you spent the last 7 years pursuing your doctorate, going to medical school, doing clinicals, doing residency. You get barred by the medical board. And then you decide that you don't want to traditionally practice. Instead, you want to be holistic. Instead, you decide, I don't want to have a brick and mortar facility. I want to make a van and travel and give services to underprivileged communities. And then you hear, but you went to medical school. You're supposed to be a doctor. You should work in a hospital. And, that's really a big dream. And then you get wrapped up in that. Yeah, I did go to medical school. I got to pay those student loans. I got to do something about that. But your journey was different. Your journey is to say, you know what? Maybe I went to medical school to understand that I do want to give back to those underprivileged communities. And maybe temporarily my journey is not to stay just a brick and mortar doctor, but my journey is to branch out and make a nonprofit to give back to underprivileged communities and their medical needs. It can be the same if you're a doctor. It can be the same if you're a performer. You know, everyone isn't destined to do the same exact thing, because otherwise you wouldn't be listening to my podcast. You'd be speaking on your own. You'd be listening to your own podcast, let's say. We're not all meant to do the same thing. We're also not meant to stay in the same place. And sometimes when we decide that when I get to that destination, we get lost and miss out on the journey. You know, isn't it always different when someone else is driving and you're in the passenger seat and you're the one looking out the windows, and maybe you've driven this one road 100 times and you never saw that beautiful blue house with the red door and the big windows? Because you were driving, because you were so focused on where it was that you were going. And like, thank goodness you were focused on the road, right? But you're so focused on almost like tunnel vision, like where it is that you're going, and like, oh man, I'm so tired. I'm driving. I have to turn. I have to do this. I have to do that. And you're like forgetting about the journey, forgetting about what you're learning about yourself, forgetting about the things that you're learning on the way to that destination. You know, if I can bring it back to that first example that I gave, that you're on your way to pick your friend up from the airport and you hit a detour, and instead of saying like, oh, that detour had so many potholes and it was like, I spent this much gas and it was this much time, you could really turn around and say, I found a way to go to the airport. I found a better way to get there. Or I found this beautiful house on the way to the airport because I took that detour. You know, funny story, the apartment complex that I live in now was found actually just like that. You know, my, at the time, boyfriend and I had gone to a high school football game to support one of our mentors' son at his senior football game. And when we left the stadium, or I'm sorry, the football field, we went to drive home and my phone lost service, so we lost the GPS. And I was upset because I'm like, you missed the turn and now my GPS isn't working. I can't reroute us, so we just have to go down this scary road. It's dark. Like, I'm over it. I'm so upset. And for like 10 minutes in the car, I was quiet. I was raging. And then we got to the bottom of this road and there was like this massive billboard, and it was like apartment building townhouses. And I turned to my significant other, trying to break the heavy, hot rage ice that I had brought into the car with my energy because I was so upset. And I was like, ha, like, we're apartment hunting. Look at that apartment complex over there. That was not what the billboard was advertising, but it was an apartment complex. And we laughed, and I took the phone number down to the police, and then we got to where there was service, and then we routed the rest of the way home. And we were like, oh, that was a really cute place. And then 3 weeks later, I called that apartment complex, and then we loved it. We fell in love with that apartment complex. And for 4 months after that, every time we came in the area, we drove through the complex and we were like, wow, it's so pretty. Oh, it's so nice. The leaves, the this, the that. And then we moved there. And 3 years later, we're still living here. And at the time, it didn't seem like it, or it didn't feel like it. But that journey of the GPS not working and not having service, and I was so focused on the destination. I was so focused on, like, you missed that turn. Now we're going to go a whole separate way that I don't know home. I'm so mad. I'm so upset. I'm so angry. That journey of us getting home that night got us to a phone number that got us to our first apartment together. And we love it here. And when we go to buy a house, you know, we'll always remember that first little apartment that we had. And again, I love it here. It's beautiful. But being so wrapped up in that destination that, like, I kind of almost missed the journey of, you know, it's crazy how things work out, because had my phone worked, had I had service, I might not have found this apartment complex. And I would have subsequently maybe moved somewhere else and not be where we are. And there's so many little trickled pieces of what my life is now. But because I was destination focused, I might have almost missed that. And so we think about so much about where we're going and how angry we can be. And again, you know, exhaustion and everything is not rainbows and flowers. You know, that is the reality of life. We don't live in a picture book. But when you think about all the little things, all the little ways that this journey is working and turning its wheels and doing for you, we become so much more grateful. And the destination is great. Thank God that we have a place that we want to go or be or become or absorb. But we forget, you know, in the time that maybe you're waiting for your next gig and you have just enough money to pay your rent and maybe buy like $50 worth of groceries at a time, because you saved your money enough to get this apartment, but you don't have a lot to eat right now. And that's your journey. You're waiting on your gig. And then because you waited on that gig and because you were able to be so versatile and smart with your money, when your next gig came, it was quadruple that. And you were able to really live how you thought you wanted to live when you were in the wait of that next gig. And then when you're at that next gig and you're in the works of that and all of that, you look back and you're like, yo, I remember the days that I only had ramen. I remember the days that I only had just enough for a little bit of chicken to last me till Friday, because I didn't have a lot of food, because I was budgeting my money, trying to do whatever it is you're trying to do. And in closing, I really just want to present this in a way that really reaches you. And again, I would love feedback at Boss Lady Pujols on Instagram. Are you right now feeling like, I'm exhausted? When is it my turn? I'm so tired of XYZ. I want to buy a house. Why not me? Why do I feel like I'm not catching up? My job isn't paying me enough. I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. I have to buy a new car. I don't know how we're going to pay the mortgage this month. I don't know how we're going to buy diapers. I don't know. I want to leave you with a question. Are you focused on a destination that maybe has changed? Are you being thankful for where you're headed and knowing that the current circumstance is temporary? Or is it altogether time for you to change where you're headed and ultimately change your journey? Thank you for listening. Come back again next week for another episode of You the Boss podcast.